special edition.
I went to Total Wines.
And you were invited.
Is
buy
Total
them
Wines
out?
having a Christmas party?
That's quite good.
Okay, it's 11/14 on December 19th, the year of our Lord 2025, as Steve Bannon would say. AmFest started last night, AmFest 2025, Charlie Kirk, TP USA, out in Phoenix. And I don't know if anybody watched the opening, but I thought it was kind of interesting. Erica Kirk did her introduction. Then they had, who's that guy? I can't think. Ben Shapiro, and he called out Tucker Carlson, and then they had Tucker Carlson on later. It was very, very interesting. But the one thing I thought was kind of telling was listening to Erica Kirk at the beginning, because there's been all this controversy, people saying things and all that type of stuff. But what she said that I thought applied to us is that, or what I thought was interesting, the saying, people stick around, Charlie's death, murder, assassination. People stick around, some people don't, some people split, some people seek opportunity, all that kind of stuff. The exact same thing that goes on the national level goes on at the local level. It's always that way. It's quite interesting. But it's all about, kind of working through it and never give up, never surrender, all that type of stuff that we preach. But the one thing she did make a comment about, which I thought was really good, was the people that refuse to come to the table only weaken themselves. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and well, I think I might have added that. I think when we saw it again, we saw it twice because they replayed it on Rap, her opening, and it was just the weakening part. But obviously, if you're weakened and you're not in the right position in the first place, you're probably going to lose. So that's kind of what it is. But that's what we fight on the state level with the SCGOP. One of the things that's always been interesting is to tell people is I've never talked to Drew McKissick. I've never talked to Ellen Weaver. I've never talked to a lot of these people because they don't want to sit down and talk. If you're in that power level, they think they don't have to talk to you. Mm-hmm. But if they're doing wrong, eventually they're going to have to, or they're going to be replaced. And it's kind of a theory that some politicians and some consultants have is like, oh, don't even talk to them. I subscribe to a different theory of, I'm more than happy to talk to anybody and everybody all the time, and we'll sit down and we, I think Erica Kirk and what's her name, Candace Owens, they had like 4.5 hours, probably an exhausting meeting, but that's how you start resolving things.
It lasted that long.
It was 4.5 hours.
That's good. That means they were communicating.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think afterwards we did hear it wasn't like that they were agreeing on things, but questions were asked, answers were given, and now they're back on it.
Well, maybe.
But,
I don't know.
Candace, I think she did give credit that she found out things she didn't know before, and there was a conversation.
There's always something you can learn. So, I mean, I'm always a big believer that, you sit down and talk to people and move forward from there. So
She is a smart lady, and she's done a lot of good for conservatives. It'd be great if they could reconcile these differences.
Sure. Yeah. The other thing I think Tucker Carlson talked about was everybody talks about the divide within the Republican Party or the MAGA America First piece. He actually was saying that, there really isn't a divide. We're just hashing things out and things like that, which, maybe not. I don't know. They keep posting these Democrats winning these local state races or, state Senate races or state House races. I don't really, to me, a local race, just because a Democrat flips a seat doesn't necessarily mean, there's a national crisis. Who really knows? But because, local races are very distinct amongst themselves. So we do have two big local races here on the 23rd. We will be pushing people to get out and vote. Number one for Lee Bright in Senate District 12. This is on the eastern side of Greenville County. And then the other Republican candidate, or the Republican nominee in House District 21, which is Diane Mitchell, which we censured her for participating in the real fraud of 21. But she won in her runoff election. I guess she won 20 or 22 votes. So she's our Republican nominee, or maybe it wasn't a runoff, but it was the actual election. But she's our Republican nominee. Maybe it was a runoff. It was, yeah, it was a runoff. Lee Bright went straight up. That was fantastic. So, but a lot of people have heard Lee Bright doing radio ads. Lee is just wanting to make sure, the Democrats are organized.
Yeah.
They do have a write-in candidate in Senate 12, and they do have a write-in candidate in House District 21. The other special election, which is down in Lexington, they actually filed to have a Democrat run, so they're not having to do a write-in. And it's interesting to kind of watch, some Republicans support that Democrat down there. But we got to get people out. So if you know anybody that lives in House District 21 or Senate District 12, and again, that's on the eastern side of Greer, South, that area over there of Greenville County. And we'll be sending out text messages reminding people and everything. But as I've told Senator Bright, that we're pushing more, the actual election as opposed to the runoff, because as opposed to the early voting, because the early voting people had to go all the way down to McAllister Square, and it's not working. People aren't getting out and driving McAllister Square. So yeah, especially now with the Christmas traffic. It's even worse than Christmas. It was bad enough in November or the last 2 weeks of October or whatever, the whole month of October actually. But it's definitely a problem Christmas time. So, but I think we get people to go. I mean, it's just go to your local precinct and vote on the 23rd. Just get out there and do it. So we'll push and do that. It's tough to win a write-in campaign. People got to remember how to spell the name. They got to remember the name. They got to take that extra time. I don't care who you are. The first time you go in there and vote, or if you go in there, you're often nervous. You feel like you got to get in and get out, especially if other people are in line. They don't want to take the time to do that. But if they're going to vote for a write-in candidate, maybe they will take the time. But we just got to get our people to go in there, and as we've been preaching, vote straight ticket and move on. So, some of those, there's overlap between those two districts, and then there's areas where it's only the House or only the Senate. So we'll be pushing that. So that's kind of exciting.
Yes, got it.
Good. But can they hear us? The volume work?
I guess it does.
They could.
Jeff, with the write-ins, if they misspell name, is the vote count?
I think they can use their judgment as to what they were trying to. So if you do misspell it, I think it's okay. I've been told it's okay. That would, if the election ended up being close, if we're going the other way, that would be a reason for challenge, of course. With the election being on the 23rd, normally the certification would be at 11 a.m. on the 2 days later, Thursday. Conway's not doing it on Thursday because it's Christmas Day. so he's actually, I think they're doing it on Wednesday. So they'll certify on Wednesday. It's only one election or two elections, so I guess they can have the bandwidth and you can get it done. If there was 40 elections, that might be a problem. But I think they're going to certify it. I don't know exactly what time, probably 11. We normally go down and watch them. You can see the certification. It's nothing real exciting, but you can find out if somebody has a complaint or a protest or something like that. So, hopefully the numbers will be so overwhelming in both of those races that it won't be a big deal. We don't have to worry about misspellings or whatnot. So what's next? Chuck, we saw him running 12 miles yesterday in the cold. We were going to the dentist for Olga, and this guy's out there running, and I was like, holy cow. This is nowhere near where he lives at home anyway. So it was good. So.
Good. It was a good run. Actually, it was really nice. It was actually warmer than most of the days. Probably a warm day.
Well, I believe in exercise for health, and I think when it's too cold out there, it's probably not healthy. So, but then also, I think it's not healthy when it's 65 degrees either. So, breathing this dirty air, right? So, all right. So, the other big news that happened this week is the Planning Commission for Greenville County. This is why being on a board and commission is so important. We're now seeing it implemented on the Planning Commission side, because apparently there was a big development, maybe multiple developments out there that got rejected, that were approved by staff. And that's a big deal. Would have been approved by staff.
Yeah.
If the commission did not call a special
Right,
meeting
right.
to reject it.
Right. So the vote on rejecting at least the big development that we heard was 8-1. So I mean, it was a resounding victory in that sense. I think you're seeing that people are a little fed up and tired of this.
So 22
Yeah, that was-
hours ago, I
that
see
was
the
a-
headlines, Greenville County denies Piedmont subdivision developer files suit.
So
they're
we'll
trying to
follow
go back to an old experience with another developer to see if they can do an
Yes.
end run on the vote.
Yes. So I mean, but a lot of this is they're in it for the money. They're not really interested in the local citizenry or the community and all that kind of stuff. I think these guys, it was D.R. Horton and some other group, maybe out of Miami or something. I'm not exactly sure who they were. Not local in that respect, but I mean, they do have legal rights as well. I mean, there's some process and procedure you have to follow. Apparently, there was a case years ago, that the county ended up doing something similar with loss, had to pay $100,000, probably legal fees and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, you have to fight it, and eventually, it'll get corrected, or they'll change whatever ordinances or whatever they need to do on the county council level. But to me, it was good to see people organizing. I don't know the chair of the planning commission, but a lot of people congratulating or thanking him for calling the special meeting to be able to do that. Deborah Manning is first vice chair. Who's kind of with us in the sense that, and it's showing what you can do in these. I mean, they've used these boards and commissions as excuses to say, "Oh, I didn't do anything." As the elected official, these guys did it. Now we are having and seeing these boards and commissions organized, and organize more for the citizenry, if you will. And you're seeing the same thing on the board of tax assessment and appeals. Those guys all got together, I think, a couple of weeks ago and elected Joe Farmer, their chair. They elected Terry Wicker as first vice chair. So I mean, it's they're getting organized about this type of stuff. So we still encourage. Obviously, we'll send out whenever the next things come up. But remember, there's boards and commissions at the county level. They're at the municipal level. They're at the state level. They're at the federal level. I've never messed with the federal boards and commissions, but they're there, and this is what you got to get involved with. And I think that's I'm excited to see that, and I'm excited to see we have now got people to focus on boards and commissions. We've got people to focus on these fee in lieu of tax, and now we got people focused on zoning, which is becoming a big issue, as you guys pointed out. What's going on down in Fountain Inn? I got the mayor of Fountain Inn's Substack email. I guess I'm on that, but they're talking about zoning in his email update. They have a nice little, image that showed what the current zoning was, and then it, the image would, evolve into what they want the zoning to be, and back and forth. I mean, it's,
That's a small part.
I'm sure it is. I'm really sure it is. So, I mean, y'all, I think Ron, y'all went to a meeting last night.
I went to the planning commission meeting last night. A couple things happened. Number one, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints requested annexation of a lot of land, 10.4 acres on the edge of town into the city, so they could build a church there. And they got approved to go forward. So, the commission voted completely in favor of it. And the other thing is, back in February 8th of 2024, the city had commissioned a long-term plan. They call it Insight.
Right.
And plan works. But that's developed, and it's like 96 pages long, very in-depth. And part of it is to incorporate what they call the Unified Development Ordinance.
Right. UDO.
Right.
We're all aware of UDOs because that's what
So
Greenville did.
that's what got approved last night by the planning commission to go forward. And the city is supposed to do the first reading, city council in January, the second reading in February as far as development. They're in schedule on this. That's how much the volume of work. So anyway, the meeting ended. I talked with the city administrator, introduced myself, told where I live, and all that good stuff. He goes, yeah, I go by that townhouse development every day. I live over in Landon Station, which was incorporated a couple of years ago into the city. I said, oh, well, you found a card, gift card of your door one day. He goes, I said, for AJ? He goes, yeah, I did. Because my wife and I put that there. He goes, oh. I said, you see, we are concerned about the city. And we are making steps, doing little things to try to help.
Do y'all technically live in the city?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I said, I read in the UDO as proposed, there's all kinds of work needs to be done, and it's called all kinds of study proofs and commission. I said, I'd be very willing to serve on one of these boards. He says, thank you, we'll look you up. So I'm inching my way into what's happening in the city.
Good.
So it's not a voted thing. It's a place.
Yep.
But you got to let them know you're interested.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Fantastic. Do as much as you can. Find somebody else, or you got to do it yourself. That's what we find your replacement, or find. You can't find somebody to do it. You got to do it, and sometimes you got to run yourself.
That's right.
And we got Jerry Tussaud here, winner of the Simpsonville runoff election a couple weeks ago. So you will be sworn in on the 13th of January, Tuesday the 13th. So that'll be exciting.
I'm waiting.
in the meantime, keep a low profile.
I don't think he needs to keep a low profile.
I got all engines going. All engines going.
You brought in the Simpsonville Sentinel today, so you got a little ad in there, and then Chad O'Rear put a op-ed in there about things changing in Simpsonville with your election, so that's exciting. Oh, we can do that. Here's to the citizens of Simpsonville. There's a little ad on the, looks like it's the back cover. But Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to the citizens of Simpsonville. I want to thank the citizens of Simpsonville for giving me an opportunity to serve on the city council. As we begin a new year, I'm hopeful that I can make a contribution to help the city continue to prosper. Jerry Tussaud. So, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.
Terry, my name showed up online.
Terry Wicker? She's supposed to be working. Oh, Terry, what are you doing here? We'll tell her boss, yes.
So it says, good morning, everyone. Sorry I could not be there today.
Welcome, Tommy.
And someone said Simpsonville has a brighter future with the addition of Jerry Tussaud.
Ooh,
Very true.
who said that?
It says from the plague.
That's my wife.
I think the plague is Scott, but yes. And Scott is the one house, one subdivision that will not be annexed into Simpsonville, because
Oh,
if they annex him in, he's going to run for office, and I don't think anybody wants him running for office. If they thought Jerry was tough, they don't want Scott involved in it.
This is my one tax base thing.
As he just wrote, yes, I am the plague.
Terry said she's working and listening.
Okay, good.
It's not about calling her out.
Okay.
Actually, Jerry, I wanted to extend an invitation for the legislative committee. And I can put you on the chat, if it's okay. I have
Okay.
Tim Pinkerton is on it, on
Uh-huh.
the chat for the legislative committee.
Okay.
So, and what we do, we've got people, Ron and Tim, from the cities, the municipalities, and they report in.
Mhm.
We meet every Monday, once a month.
Okay.
And then feels you can invite in and do Zoom. What we want is just basically what you see going on in your meetings. Keep us all informed. So I like to.
Yeah, and I think Tim does a good job of it.
Yeah.
But you're welcome
So
to.
if you want to sit in, I just want to loop you in on the information.
I will. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Yes.
The way we do it, you can come here at HQ. It's at 7:00, usually the first Thursday, second Thursday of the month. Or you can stay home and Zoom in on it.
Okay.
And I'm going to send out minutes from the last one. I'll get you on and do that. Normally we have the meeting, but sometimes we have dinner at 6:00 prior. And so announces I'm planning on January 8th. It's the next meeting, and we will probably have some winter soup and salads.
The idea, just so everyone kind of understands, you need inside people and outside people. You need somebody on the inside, an elected official, that understands what's really going on in the back rooms and all that kind of stuff. And then we can provide support from the outside. So y'all tell us what you need, what you're trying to accomplish, where we can help explain. I've talked to a bunch of different people about this that are elected officials, but what can we do to assist, and what can we also do to clarify some misinformation or what's really going on out there. So I think our side of the fence, we're normally skeptical of things.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's good reason for way things are done, and sometimes there's not. And we've got to support our elected officials that want to do the right thing, and we got to make sure they don't get suckered in by the lobbyists and all that kind of stuff. Most of our people, like a Jerry, are not going to get sucked in by the lobbyists. I think Jerry's well experienced enough to know what that's about. But a lot of people do. You look at, there was the story of I guess last year when the new House reps came down to Columbia. They took them over to the big Williams-Brice Stadium and put their name up in lights and all that stuff. And some people just fall for it. And all of a sudden they're what's Bubba Cromer's title?
He's a clerk.
He's the clerk of the House, of the South Carolina State House. He's the clerk. He's the guy that reads the bills when they first get handed in, and then hands it to the speaker. The speaker then assigns it to whatever committee.
A Catholic guy too.
He's Catholic. Yes. And the funny thing is, he invited a bunch of new House reps to his house, I guess, for a Christmas party, and had a patio furniture was the featured event. Entertainer as a drag queen. And maybe this was 3 years ago. Maybe this was 3 years ago.
It was a troop of drag queens, wasn't it?
It may have been. And patio furniture may have been the main thing. I will say, and we'll out of all fairness, we ought to ask them about this. But there was a small move to not reelect him to be the clerk this past year. And one of the people that voted for him was, and it was really more the Freedom Caucus was kind of pushing this. Why are we going to reelect this guy that's having a drag queen and all this kind of stuff? And he's gay, whatever. That's but he has influence, right? He's sitting there, the entire session right next to the Speaker of the House, and you become friends and you have influence. And he used to be a member of the legislature. And he's a lawyer. And if I got a DUI, I'd probably call him because I think he's a DUI lawyer. I think he probably knows every judge, and he probably wins most, if not all, of his cases. Who knows? Kind of a joke, but that's a problem with our lawyer legislators out there. But I'm like, there was a small move to not reelect him, and there was one Freedom Caucus member who actually voted to reelect him, which was what's his name? Thomas Beach. Thomas Beach got elected because his predecessor voted to put boys and girls sports. Thomas Beach got elected going after those people, and then I'm like, we go through the list. Like, why is Thomas Beach voting for this guy? Now, I saw 2 days ago, why this has now come back up, 2 days ago, his wife makes the comment, I don't normally go to Columbia. When I do go to Columbia, I go visit Bubba. And so she had literally a video of her going to Bubba Cromer's house, seeing Bubba Cromer, and apparently they're friends. It's a bit confusing, right? More than a bit confusing. I'm not going to sit there and say I'm a big Christian believing Freedom Caucus person like that. I want to get rid of, in this case, it was Wes Cox, and then go out and be best buddies with Bubba Cromer. Now, Bubba will tell you, and I've seen it out there, he doesn't have influence over legislation. But when Jason Elliott, who's my state senator, when Jason was running, what did Bubba do? Came out, endorsed Jason, another gay Republican, came out, and Bubba's not even a Republican. I think when he was in the State House, he was actually an independent of some form or fashion. He wasn't a Democrat, he wasn't a Republican. He got elected somehow, and I don't know what party or what it was. But he endorsed Jason Elliott, He says, "Oh, we can do a lot of good things together." I mean, in one moment he's saying, "I have no influence over actual legislation," and the next moment he's endorsing, saying, "Oh yeah, well I have influence over legislation. We can do things together." So, watch what they do, not what they say. So, I found that interesting and troubling all at the same time. So, that's my issue with supporting Bubba Cromer and drag queens. So, drag queens being the biggest thing going, and we talk about grooming of children and all those types of things. There is grooming of legislators, right? So lobbyists will go in there and groom them by taking them to nice fancy dinners and places that a lot of them have never been before. And Bubba's grooming them with, "Hey, these drag queens are kind of funny. So come to my house and have our annual Christmas party." So I had to get that off my chest. So who else has something they want to chat about? Yes, ma'am.
One thing I wanted to, what Frank said with the legislative committee that came up on Thursday is Troy gave us information about Hobart and the number of illegals that are in the county jail. And in November, I was either November or October, there was about 25 illegals that had committed some type of crime being held there. Some of them are taken by ICE. Some of them are released into the community. And to Jeff's point about taking action, not just talking, one of my big concerns has always been with illegals is those that are released into the community. Is there any way as patriots, like we could find out some of those charges, like not people's names, but there's a difference between somebody who maybe stole something at Harris Teeter versus somebody who committed assault. And parents should be aware of that. There's this person in your community that, and a lot of the illegals, like as we've seen in the news, they quite frankly go after young women. And that's a vulnerable part of society. Is there any way we could find out who's, not by names, but what kind of charges are being released in the community? Because And this affects like not only our stance on legal immigration, but what Ron was saying about overcrowding. Like that's part of the problem is the illegal. So if we solve this problem, it can solve a lot of other problems.
Yes, I would not shy away from even knowing the names because it should be all public knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, is it in a formulated, easy way to access, like with the sex offender database? No, I mean, I don't think that's out there. But they could do something like that. They should do something like that.
It'd be like a police or something.
One would think, and I heard Hobart speaking on the radio the other day. They talked about there's something called the Fusion Center. I think it's over on Woodruff Road. It's where multiple, I think it's run by SLED, but multiple agencies are in there. And I think one of the questions that was posed to Hobart is like, do you get a blotter or do you get updates on the things that are going on out there? I would assume that's public too. And I literally thought I was wondering if we could call the Fusion Center and get on whatever their email list or their distribution list. You can do that with certain groups, and I mean, consider yourself the press, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we are in certain ways, but I'm gonna consider if a reporter can get on the distribution list, maybe we should get on that distribution list too. So
yeah, I could look into that.
Yeah, but it's called the Fusion Center, and I think it's something to get help coordinate the various law enforcement agencies. But he did say it was run by SLED. I've heard about it in the past. I think I first learned about it because I think some people were doing a protest over on Woodruff Road, and somebody from the Fusion Center came out to see who they were, and they were like, "Oh, I'm from the Fusion Center right over here," and they're like, "What the heck's a Fusion Center?" So it's out there. So if you want to check into that, but what I think is more important, the crime and the assault on young women is obviously a big issue. We've heard a lot about that in Europe, Germany, those types of things, and it's here too. But if you want to talk about affordability, which seems to be the big word right now, look at the demand. You've got 20 million or so extra people wanting eggs or wanting housing and all that type of stuff. As demand goes up, Everybody taking economics class? You know, what happens? Prices go up. So, I mean, you take out 20 million illegals, what's going to happen? Prices are going to go back down. So that's where, you know, Trump was, you know, we can ask people's comments on what they thought about Trump's Wednesday night press conference or whatnot, or speech. And we watched it twice. And, you know, interesting for us, red meat type stuff. But, you know, what we've heard even since then is like, you know, an extra 1 million illegals drives up housing prices by 1%.
Mhm.
And 20 million is by 20%. I mean, that's what we've seen. I've even noticed, I've made comments of Olga the other day, you know, there's an apartment community right down the street. You know, now they got a sign out there, $9.99 a month.
And free TV.
Yes, well, that's a different one. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, 1 month free, all that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of like, you know, I don't think that was the price 6 months ago. It was higher because I was kind of looking at it because I'm like,
And there was no poster on the building.
Right.
That we, no, maybe, I don't know. We're wondering, is that a change? Is that a recent?
I think it's a change. You know, because I've looked it up in the past, just, you know, because to understand the markets, you look at pricing, and I was like, man, it's pretty expensive to rent a place.
Oh, yeah.
Now I'm like, $9.99 for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath place, ain't too bad. You know, and it's that's
I need to move.
it's the one too. Yeah.
Like 10 minutes from here.
Well, that was on East Shore, so this is the one literally by that lake where all the geese are. So I mean, it's a block.
Yeah.
You know, down there. Yes, sir.
Just Frady or Charlie James, one of these people, were talking about outsiders coming in and buying apartment complexes, New York City, Texas, the whole thing. But he said it's not just apartment. These companies based in New York will own 10,000 units.
Yes, and a lot of that is BlackRock, those types of things.
And that's where they just go in there and they raise the price of whatever.
And there has been a lot of talk of prohibiting those types of groups from buying homes because that will drive up the price as well. You and I can't compete with what those guys can do. They have a lot of extra cash and they have a lot of ability to borrow, quite frankly, at very, very low interest rates. And it's a margin that they're working on. It's an arbitrage deal, and and they can hold it. And they've got money that people have given them. And I feel kind of guilty about it because what was interesting is in the old days, reporting from where I used to work, reporting, doing the legal and accounting and investment stuff for folks, we would have bank accounts or investment accounts all over the place. You could, it was like pulling your teeth out to sit there and give a client a consolidated report of their net worth. Say they got 20 or 30 different brokerage accounts, all that kind of stuff, asset allocation, all that. So what we would do, and this is where it all started in the old days, was, they would put all of the assets at a place like State Street, Vanguard, Bank of New York, those types of things. And then the asset managers could come in and just take their piece and do whatever they do with it with cash. But the reporting would come from that one consolidated custodian, is what they're called. Now those custodians end up holding a ton of money and a ton of influence. And now they're going out and using that, flexing that muscle. And that's where you get a lot of the DEI stuff that got forced down people's throats. You got a lot of, we've got X number of shares we can vote, and we're going to make your company move a particular way because guess what? We've got a lot of investors that have their securities sitting there that, haven't really done anything with it. And if you read the fine print of some of these documents that are out there, these agreements, if you don't vote, they can vote for you, allegedly in your best interest. They think your best interest is diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's one of the things. And what was interesting, and I saw it, was an old article or report in the New York Times about diversity. And diversity, we all, I like in some senses, you would consider seeing and hearing diverse opinions as a positive, and that's how the logic has come about. Oh, we should be more diverse, all that. But the article and the science behind it was promoting homogeneous neighborhoods and communities is actually more civically engaged, more philanthropic, all that type of stuff. If you're like me and speak the same language, I'm going to be more in my neighbor. I'm going to be more philanthropic or engaging than somebody that doesn't look like me or doesn't speak my language, that type of stuff. It's not necessarily bad. It's just human nature. And that's why they were saying some of these homogeneous communities are more kind of united, if you will. And if you kind of look at it from the opposite, look at the Somalis. I mean, they're a homogeneous community, and they have moved into one place, and they are doing what they did.
Well, that's not that unusual. That up in Massachusetts, the Boston area is that way. You got Chinatown, you got the Irish community, right, the Polish community. Well, some people came in, and as other people from that country wanted to move someplace, they went to the people they knew, so they'd be welcome and supportive, and give them someplace to start from,
right,
where they were welcome. So that's not unusual. We got a history of that in this country.
So, I'm sorry, Somalis are different. I was in Springfield, Mass. On the news desk when they opened the doors to the Somalis. There were two NGOs, Lutheran, Jewish, something others, and they were given $1 million apiece to bring in Somalis. The Somalis had no interest in assimilating.
Correct.
I spoke to one guy, he was a mechanic, and he was at a Somali camp, and he was offered $3,000 American for his spot in the lottery to come to the States.
Wow.
And I tried to tell the people at the newspaper, I said, these people aren't going to stay here. There's no, and that's how they were targeted, go to specific congressional districts and flood the districts. The goal was not assimilation or let's be nice or anything like that, it was political power.
Yes.
And that's how you ended up with Omar
Yes.
And her brothers.
Which is crazy. I mean, to think about this is going on in America and how that occurred. I will tell you, in filling out Olga's citizenship, because now they're talking about it. They're talking about going back and looking at people's naturalization papers, and if they lied, kick out of the country. I was well aware that was in the instructions of her citizenship application. And I'm like, you got to be extra careful. We went through all the questions. Is there anything that we could even think about?
I think we had not hard times. You have to list every single time that you left the country in the last 5 years, I think. And at the time we were cruising like every 3 months. So
Before we got sucked into this quagmire politics.
right.
Yeah,
I was so paranoid that
Volunteer.
I missed a cruise because even if you go to Bahamas or Jamaica, whatever, you were leaving the country, and I was so paranoid that I missed something when I was listening every time we left the country. It was a pain, but I think we got it.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Well, that's partially why we waited until like almost 4 years after COVID, because we had not traveled anywhere. So I was like,
of communities, has anyone here attended the Greenville downtown Christmas parade, or did you guys watch it? The Polish club of Greenville was walking. So if you yeah,
there is one.
there is
And
one.
Olga actually designed their logo
We-
years and years ago.
Yeah.
before it was anything. Now we're cranking it up.
They're cranking it up. They did good.
We have a good group, to your point of, but we're not,
There are minority.
no, and we like people to know we're there, but we do not, we all speak English. I mean,
But on her citizenship application, they asked questions about what you've been involved in politics, what you did, back home, what you did here, and we had to consider how to answer all those questions with her participation in the Republican Party and those types of things, and applying while still under Biden. So, we putting this down or not? The idea is to put it down just to be careful.
I like parades. I was watching the 93rd anniversary parade in Hollywood, Christmas parade.
Okay.
And I just happened to hit the channel right. There were representatives of 100 Chinese groups in the Hollywood Christmas parade.
Wow.
And a lot of them very ornate costumes and dancing and whatnot.
They're in that there's a bizarre split in with the Chinese, because I will tell you, January 6th, there were a bunch of Chinese. There was a big Chinese contingency that was there that was very anti-communist, CCP. You didn't see it in the news, and you didn't see, I mean, they were everywhere. It was a big, I mean, they were standing up for, fighting back against communism and all that stuff. And I'm sure they were well aware of what would happen to Joe Biden, and this is January 6th of 2021. But I'm like, they weren't happy about it. But you didn't see it in the news. And I'm like, why is this not on the news? I mean, we were there, they were everywhere. So
The Somalis were coming in Springfield again, with diseases that we didn't know how to spell. And we weren't allowed to put them in print, just that the hospital and admissions had gone up.
Right.
So, I mean, this is a lot more insidious.
It is. And we were talking to somebody recently that worked at the hospital here in town, and they were talking about how frustrating it is to see the amount of people that are not on insurance, that are illegal, that they have to be treated, and the things that are, I mean, it is running up healthcare costs. It all gets back to affordability. You can't have a generous society and open borders and
Survive.
Yeah.
You can't survive.
becomes unlimited.
It's so interesting. I know, gosh, someone would question a doctor whether we should treat children of parents that don't want to vaccinate children. Makes sense?
Mhm.
They say, well, you don't trust science of vaccinating children, but when your child is sick, you now want me to treat your child.
Yeah.
It's that kind of question.
I know it's a bizarre question, but it's somebody that we know that's, I think, a little frustrated with they're on the other side of the political spectrum than us. They're a little frustrated with things, so.
I don't think they're on the other side of the spectrum. I think they're on the other side of medical,
Medical theory.
Medical freedom.
medical freedom.
Yeah.
Maybe they're okay with the other stuff. I don't know.
Well, that's a strange world anyway, medical freedom.
Yeah.
'Cause it takes so many different directions.
Yeah, it can. Chris?
I'm sorry, I was gonna back way up to BlackRock.
Oh,
Black,
yes.
what it was, BlackRock?
Yes, BlackRock.
How can you legally stop them from buying anything? I mean, it's kind of, I want to, but then there's property rights. How can you stop a seller from selling to whoever? I mean, is there a mechanism? And especially, I don't think we should sell any property to like Chinese people, for instance, like land next to a military facility or something.
Yeah. And I don't know the legalities of it. I would think there probably is some way if you change the law. I don't know if it's an unconstitutional thing to say, large corporation. I do know from the old days, I mean, if you own less than 4 units,
Yeah.
you can
Oh, yeah.
discriminate all day long if you want. So I don't want you because you're Italian.
Yeah.
I don't want you renting from me.
Yeah.
You can do that if you have less than 4 units. If you have more than 40 units, then you can't. But I mean, there's probably rules that if you own 10,000 units, there's something additional you can make it a tad more.
You would have to go through some kind of legislature, I think, to make it
Probably
legal.
something, yes.
And then wouldn't they just change their name?
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, there's
Change your names.
Yeah.
but
Nationality.
yeah, you make it so. But if you make it so cumbersome for them,
Yeah.
kind of like what we talked about. One of my old roommates from college, engineering guy. There was a neighborhood down in, I think it was in Simpsonville, Five Forks, that was looking to get approved. And you weren't going to, in those days, you weren't going to stop it. The planning commission, they were approving everything, and you couldn't stop anything. So he was like, okay, well, what's the other way to skin this cat? The other way was to sit there and say, well, sure, you can build it, but you're going to have to do all this other stuff that's required in law. Nobody was pointing it out to him before. All the sidewalks and handicap stuff, ADA stuff. Well, once they figured out all that stuff, because some engineer pointed out that you're going to have to invest X amount of money to do that, they were like, oh, it became financially unfeasible to do the project.
Yeah.
So there's multiple ways to go after these types of things. So, yes.
I'm
Someone
sorry.
on the line said, not someone, Scott, rezoning can help keep BlackRock out.
Too late.
Yeah, but how do you be specific to just them? I mean,
Well, it would probably wouldn't be just them by name. It would be entities that would be buying so many units.
Like unit, like
Maybe a limit.
Well, then they just buy, okay, you just buy a few at a time.
Well, or once you own so many, and then there's aggregation rules and all that kind of stuff. Even if they try to, I don't know. I mean, it's obviously going to be a very deep, technical, legal issue. You got to ask the experts about that. But I'm a big believer when there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
They can figure out how to do it.
Yeah, that would be,
Yes.
I believe the number is 326 of Chinese that own properties near air bases, military bases, airports, and the Republicans tried to pass legislation blocking this, and the Democrats defeated.
But they do buy things under different names.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know they're Chinese until. That's right.
But I'm saying they tried. The Democrats blocked.
Chuck?
Well,
So I know when you're purchasing a primary property in the state of South Carolina, it's 4%. You get assessed on the tax, 6% on a secondary property. I guess one way, and it might hurt some people also that own multiple properties, but after that second one, could they make another rate so it's like an ascending rate or whatever, and then you would just hit them on the tax?
And that's a good idea. I mean, your second home is 6% rate.
Yeah.
Your third is the 12% rate. Your fourth is the 18% rate.
That's I mean, technically, but it would. I mean, I understand it would hurt some people too that have multiple homes that are trying to use it for that. But that's that would be one possible solution right there is to hit them on the tax rates.
Great. There's to me always where there's a will, there's a way.
And I would like that, maybe the third 12, but then that first one we could get down to 1 or 2%, which would have
Or zero.
or zero.
Some of us would like to see zero on your principal residence.
That,
I think somebody's filed a bill that would anyone over 70, they would have 0% property tax.
Well,
Who knows if it'll pass? But somebody has filed a bill. Yeah, probably.
I go
They're
for that.
into something. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, you never know. There is a push. I mean, and I think even Texas is pushing, to get rid of property taxes. You don't own your home if you gotta. I mean, and those of us that have to write those checks in January that don't have withholdings that's coming up. But that's you don't really own your home if you got to pay. And ours, fortunately, it's relative to Atlanta or New York. It's not expensive, but it's going to get notched up and notched up and notched up. If we're not careful, that's why we fight it every step of the way. And in some homes, I mean, people in New York and Jersey, I mean, they were paying $24,000 a year. It's $2,000 a month for your property taxes.
Oh.
That doesn't include your insurance or your home mortgage. I mean, the fact that the average age for a first-time home buyer is now 40.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
I bought my first home at 23. So took a little loan from the parents or whatever, $15,000 or whatever to buy a $45,000 house that sold for $65. 3 years later when I got out of law school, it was nice to make an extra $20,000 to put to the next house. So, that's just kind of the way it worked. Yes.
Getting back to the question about zoning and stuff, one of the things I've learned from my extensive reading lately is what they're doing is they're taking areas of land and putting it under a development name where there are no pre-published limitations. It's all subject to board approval. So that way, corporations can come in and get the rules changed as long as the board approves it. Like if you take the zone I'm in, there's a limit of 35 feet or 40 feet of the height of a structure. But you go into one of these other zones, which is on the backside, the board decides what the limit's going to be, what the setbacks are going to be, how tight and compact it's going to be. All that. So they're leaving doors open. It might be the back door, but the zoning commissions are leaving the back door open for these big groups.
They are. No, I mean, it's, this is what these people get paid a lot of money to do and figure out.
Perry says the age should be 65.
Oh.
How about 55?
I think it should be 43. So,
I like the fact that there shouldn't be any property tax.
I mean, we have to pay for things somehow.
Yes.
But
And
we got to figure
assumption.
out. Yeah. consumption tax. There's multiple ways.
You have a choice on that. You can
Correct.
buy-
Yes.
You can
Sales
buy
tax.
that thing or you cannot buy it.
That's right.
That's right.
And
And
if
that's
you're
where it should
doing
be.
tax in your house, I live in a house, and they put a gun to your head, so if you wanna live in that house, it's a nice house, give us some money.
I'm with you.
Back,
I'm with-
actually, California, they had the thing they did, Prop 13 is reassessment of your taxes. So the house is not they can't just arbitrarily say, now your house is, you bought it for $100,000. Well, we decide your house is now worth $200,000 and assess you on that. They can't assess your house until you sell it again. The only time your assessed value is the last time it was sold.
And we had a client that had a place in La Jolla
Yeah.
that they had held for 20 some years,
Yeah.
30 years. They weren't selling it because the property taxes were like on a $200,000 house, and it was a $2 or $3 or $4 million house.
Yeah.
They weren't selling, but it also crams up the market. It was a second
Yeah,
home. and
that's
they
true. They call it the don't move, you don't move clause.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean,
I'm
it's
not gonna move my, because if I buy a new one,
yes.
I'm tripling, quadrupling my property.
And there's issues with the renovations. I looked at some of our neighbors' house. The neighbor behind us did a renovation, and their property values, their tax values compared to ours, are skyrocketed because they built on and expanded, did some stuff that
Did improvement with brought new value.
right. It's probably, I think their value's 3 times their tax value is 3 times ours.
Ooh,
It's been renovated, ours hasn't, but I'm like, it's there, and it's like it's
Part of the
a
deal
much
is
bigger bill.
if you renovate or do an addition, you got to bring the whole house up to code, which increases so much more the value of the house.
Yep. The other big discussion that I saw some people chatting about this week on our Signal chat was the Affordable Care Act tax credits. I mean, anybody have any thoughts on that?
Well, we're talking about the
COVID. Yes. Now there's the original subsidies with the Obamacare that were then enhanced with the PTC. I think they're confusing the situation. They're really not talking about it, but there were COVID enhancements, which actually allowed people that were over 400% of poverty to participate in the Affordable Care Act, and actually gave them money and all that kind of stuff. Those are not or what's not being extended. So if you're over 400% of the poverty level, which I don't know the exact number, what it would be around here, but now there's more subsidies for those individuals. So they're getting cut off completely. And that's becoming a shock for some of them.
Yeah. Well, again, because under the Unaffordable Care Act,
Yes.
government stuck its nose in where it didn't belong and messed things up even worse than it was.
Yes.
There's so many ways to resolve this that would eliminate all this nonsense, but they don't want to hear it because who's got the money to spend on this is the health insurance companies.
Never trust the government to do something that friends in church can't do.
Agree completely, because then you've got the local people.
And Ray, just expand on that. Go ahead, go to the next step.
Was
Oh, come on.
I thought it was
Socialism?
There's nothing that the government can do that friends and churches can't do.
well,
So
friends in
these are
churches can't
trust the
provide
law.
for the common defense. They can't provide for
All right.
infrastructure.
But if you look at the Constitution, that's really the only
Yeah,
thing.
they were already thinking along those lines.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
There are things that you need more than just your community to do,
Correct.
but
But it's a very small niche of
Yeah.
what's going on. Society we should be taking care of our friends and neighbors. We should not be saying, well, the government should be doing that. And I got the wacko on that one Signal chat was all over me about something, and then he talks about how, well, my neighbor is getting fined because his garbage can was left out. So go over and pull his garbage can back to his house. Do it yourself. Why did you do that? Oh, I didn't think of that. Come on, I do it all the time in my neighborhood.
We do it too. I must have missed that part of the chat, but
Oh, no, you're not on that. They threw you out of that chat.
oh, is that the one I got kicked
Yeah,
out
that's
of?
the one you got kicked out of.
I didn't see
This is
One of the ones he got kicked out.
That's right. Frank saw this what I told him. Come on. Be a neighbor. Don't be a pain in the butt.
You're like my February talk.
Yeah, you should come on Monday. But
That's kind of like a few years back on the VA, they're complaining about veterans taking forever to be seen by a doctor, and the VA reached out, the government reached out and said, how about local doctors stepping up and take on some of these veterans and helping them out? And some of them did. It's exactly what you're just referring to.
Okay.
Community get involved and help those within your community that need it.
Okay.
you know,
Veterans.
you're right. And churches should be doing a lot more of that.
Right.
Why they're not is probably why the same reasons they're not getting involved in politics and things of that
Churches are
nature.
getting smaller and smaller too. Population, some of them are folding.
And I believe a lot of it is because they're becoming irrelevant.
Mhm.
Church is religion is a way of life. You can't separate it from culture. So when the church refuses to impact the culture, the church becomes irrelevant.
Well, that's why we got to get church back into it. But I mean, you know, they say they infiltrated the what do you learn to be a preacher?
Seminary.
Seminary.
They've infiltrated the seminaries a long time ago.
Oh, that's
You know, and if you look at what goes on in regular universities, if you think that's anywhere close to what they're doing in the seminaries, which probably is. I mean, I went to a military college, the Citadel. It's a little bit more on the left side now than it was in the old days, right? So I mean, it's happening everywhere, and I'm sure it's happened substantially in the seminaries. So
It's happened at Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy, the Military Academy, and the Coast Guard Academy.
Yes.
It's
everywhere. Not yours? Oh, not your church. Yes, that's true. There are some hardcore churches that I think that's why people are attracted to them too, because they're like, hey, they are speaking truth and they want to, step up.
Yeah, our church in particular, we have a community garden.
Cells.
It's pretty good size. Shane can speak more than me. I work there a lot, but she knows more. But the outreach is very simple. The church supplies all the assets, everything you need. All you need to do is show up and put some sweat equity in it, just work a little bit, and you can have all you need.
Most of the people that work there are from the community.
Yeah.
They're not from, they don't go to church.
Oh, really?
There are only about
They'll
4 or
get
5 of us from the church that work, and the rest are all community people.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
Well,
Right.
and I remember reading an article a while ago. I mean, imagine just to be able to do things as a volunteer. I mean, cleaning up a park or doing things, in your public community. They don't want you to do it because they're worried about the legal liability, and they'd rather hire people. And I'm like, but you won't. I mean, it just makes no sense. It's not like we've been, as I told some people the other day, we've been binge watching Gunsmoke. I'm like, they were conquering the frontier, right? Everybody had to kick in. Everybody had to join the posse. It had to be deputized or be a police officer.
I recently saw a clip, probably of last winter, where in this cold climate area, an elderly woman's driveway got plowed in, heavy wet snow. So a guy who had a plow truck came in and cleared her driveway out. They fined him.
Oh,
Yes.
And in the court, he explained what was happening, and the judge at least was smart and honest and said, okay, to the county people, the city people, how much did you pay? Oh, so he wasn't involved in a commerce situation.
Right.
He did it as charity. Case dismissed.
Well, yes.
well, who would turn him in? A woman? Who turned him in?
No,
But
someone in the Department of Public Works saw it.
If they see you doing a job they should be doing, even if they don't have time to
They
do it
won't
or
get
not going to,
money.
And they want money.
They want, yes.
There's another guy who does yard work for people,
Or we call them.
and he is constantly fighting with the police. Why?
That's disgusting.
Again, what Ray said, we need to be doing these things. Automatically, it should flow out of us.
Yep.
But you're too nervous to do it, because who really wants the legal community coming after you or that? I mean, I agree with you completely. I'm just saying that's
Today, let me go back to my neighborhood. Yesterday was the last garbage pickup. If I see this garbage pails out, I'm gonna move back to the house. I'm not gonna, why create a problem for these people?
Well, don't live in a neighborhood with all these rules.
Well, that's my next place.
I agree with what everyone's saying about helping your neighbor, but where I disagree a little is I'm not going to ever help illegal immigrants.
No.
Ever. And to some degree, you have to do it on the personal level of like, if we're going to stop housing getting out of control and this crime, we have to take a personal stance. And I think this is where Republicans sometimes become soft, like when there's school referendums to raise taxes, and a lot of it can be because of there's more immigrants. And I am for legal immigration, but it doesn't mean that we should pay more money for illegals because they need to. That's what's got to stop.
No, I mean, they were talking about people crossing, the Rio, Brownsville and Eagle Pass, where, they're getting a credit card and a free flight wherever they want to go, or bus trip. And that was part of what Omar was talking about.
People don't understand is that trying to help those people out means that you cannot help. You don't have the capacity to help U.S. citizens who need help.
Exactly.
Well, and also they're borrowing the money to do that. We're in debt, right? So the question is, do you borrow money to write a charitable check? Does that make any sense? Has anybody gone out and borrowed against your house so you could give more to your church?
No.
I mean, and we know that's a good cause, but you don't do that. You don't go further into debt, to do these types of things. If we're out of debt or have a surplus, sure, but we don't have that. All very interesting. You have an update? Anything new on what's going on in the pro-life community?
Your boss agrees with MAGA.
And it's refreshing.
Smart move.
What did you say? You agree with the boss?
Yeah.
I wonder if he was braving up.
He wants to eat dinner tonight.
He wants the doors not, the locks not to be changed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frank, I hear your doghouse is getting an expansion.
And your property tax is going up.
No, he's safe. He's safe.
Troy said, and I just read as comments coming, they're not borrowing the money, they just print more funny money.
It is.
The way it is borrowing because
The balance sheet goes up, but
and the tax, the amount of money available for the federal government shrinks.
But what's interesting, and that's why a lot of people have a beef with the Federal Reserve, we go further in debt, Federal Reserve prints the money, buys the bonds themselves.
Yes, I know.
It's like, could you imagine? I want to spend more money, so Olga prints out some check and borrows from ourselves to write this extra cash. I mean, it's just, the whole system is, there's a problem. People talked about, in the old days, voodoo economics with Ronald Reagan and what he was trying to do and all that. I don't even know what you call it, what's going on, or has gone over in the past 4 years. It is a Ponzi scheme. And I remember when Governor Rick Perry out of Texas, was it Rick Perry? The governor of Texas called you during the 2016 election. He was here in South Carolina, and I think he made the comment that Social Security was a Ponzi scheme.
It is.
It is.
But
They pounded him for it. And I'm like,
but
it
it's
is
at least
technically a Ponzi scheme.
but it was at least based on the idea that we would have population growth to support it, and or abortion. which has directly killed off
And-
16% of our population. And we're actually would have had at least a third generation. So it's not just the 16% that they killed outright, it's the children and grandchildren that are not being born from that 16%. So we're probably somewhere around 25 to 30% smaller population than we ought to be.
Plus
And
they expanded the benefits as well,
yes,
which again, it's.
and when Social Security initially started, when you would start receiving benefits at the average age of death. They have not moved that age up. So think about it from a financial planning perspective. I should plan to have enough money to my expected point of death. I don't need to plan to have enough money till 100, but if the average age of death is 70, times 65 or
So you
whatever,
don't plan to 100.
well,
That's what you. I'll be dancing.
y'all will live to 100, I'm sure. But from a financial planning perspective, you got to plan to that, and if you live longer, then that's helping out. But what happened is they left the age. Now people look at Social Security as an actual retirement plan. That's not what it was meant to be. It was meant to take care of people who live past their natural age of of death. So it's now turned into some massive. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good. Start off with Monday. Senator Vernon's having a party down in Lawrence. Senator Corbin will be there as well. Also, Dr. Clark. So it'll be a chance for me to talk to some pro-life senators. Jeff and I have been talking about having a panel where people can actually talk about these different pro-life positions and try and get a unified front. I think Dr. Clark might be interested, so I'm planning to talk to him about that on Monday. Let's see, I know some people here already know us. David Pasco was at he's coming to our GCRP meeting, the big meeting in January.
The 12th.
The 12th.
Monday the 12th.
Yes. A lot of people I know are already aware of that. But I did have a chance to talk to him last Saturday when he was in Spartanburg with camp. Apparently, the question I asked him last year, what was it, October, I think it was? When he come down here, was it October? No, it was earlier than that.
July. Yes.
When he came, apparently he remembered my question because when I talked to him Saturday, he said he's already working on a committee to address the abortion pills, the illegal abortion pills. I told him that it doesn't just have to be himself. He can actually, since at the talk, he said he was planning on mentoring the state solicitors. I told him, he said, solicitors to a lesser extent can still prosecute illegal abortions in the state. And so I'm going to send him some information on that. He was very interested in knowing that it didn't just have to be on him. He can do more as AG than a solicitor can, but solicitors can still get involved.
And you did, I hope you have it on your list. The House came out with their, Sacramento House came out with their list of priorities for next year, and the abortion pills on it. So
Excellent.
I'm happy to see that they picked that up.
Making inroads.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hopefully we're getting some word out.
I think there was disappointment they didn't want to work further on the abortion time period itself, but at least they're focusing on the pill.
Yeah. And there's plenty of reasons beside of the alleged women's rights. There's right now it's still circumstantial, but there appears to be some strange connections between some animal defects and states that have massive amounts of abortion pills because the chemicals are not being properly filtered from the water before they're either released into the wild or in many cases actually reintroduced to the general population's drinking system. Also, some fetal developments too, babies, I believe, being underweight and more likely for miscarriages have spiked roughly about the same time the abortion pill became readily available. So there is some legitimate health issues besides the obvious moral issue. There's some, which is good news for us because it gives us a secular platform to talk from. It's not just, turns out God was right after all. Who would have thought? But, God tells us to do things because it's good for us. So when we don't listen to them and bad things happen, we shouldn't be surprised.
Let's say that's why I see we're having a lot of success. A lot of people, this stuff is taking way too long. It should not take this long, but we are making a lot of inroads and a lot of successes on things, you know. And when I looked at the State House website last night, and it will have a tally. I was looking for pre-filed bills, but there's a tally of the number of bills that have passed. I think it was like 93. I mean, they've only passed 93 bills last year.
6 months.
I mean, it's maybe it's too much. You know, in some senses you can argue, they shouldn't pass anything, and gridlock is good. But I'm like, there's some simple things that how many bills they filed versus how many bills been passed.
Well, I think a big part of that is they make some of these proposed bills so complicated and all inclusive, it's hard to make headway.
Yes.
As opposed to being to the point on a specific issue that could probably pass. But you expand it too much, nobody wants to be involved.
Well, I think I'm more cynical about that. All these guys, they will file a bill to say, I'm working for you guys. Oh, in the total hopes and expectation that it will go nowhere.
Right. Because
That's why there's a plethora of bills.
That is okay.
And one of the things that I think they understand to a certain degree is that you want to do something that appears to be good, but there could be so many unintended consequences that are negative. Your good intentions are great, but the unintended consequences can really be harsh on the society or the world.
Well, that's why I would say get to the point of something, being specific and focused. You're more likely going to have success than if you make it general.
That is true, but again, I like Frank's opinion. There's nothing. Let them pass nothing.
I'm trying to be positive here.
There's
some positive track.
The government that covers least
Covers
best.
And that's partially why the system we have is designed the way it is. It is designed for gridlock in that respect.
I do have a question for Ray. So I'm 100% pro-life, but I'm also 100% pro-capital punishment. So what's the pro-life committee's stance on capital punishment?
We don't have a formal position on that. And I'm very reluctant to actually
Address.
get into it because capital punishment is so much different than abortion.
Yeah.
The government does have a responsibility to protect its citizens, and if executing someone is the best way to protect its citizens, and even the Catholic Church agrees with that. What's muddying the waters today, we live in a unique situation because we actually do have a justice system that can reasonably put a person away safely for all the rest of his life. So we're in this transition stage from when there was a high expectation that someone you put in prison, big deal, he's going to get out. It's just within our lifetimes that's no longer a reality. So,
And quite frankly, it
it's
can
an
be
important
cheaper.
issue, but I think it needs a lot more discussion than simply, paint a big paintbrush over it and say no capital punishment or not.
Those are two different ballgames. The baby didn't do anything wrong.
Sure.
There you go.
Yeah. But the Catholic Church, what I had always heard, the Catholic Church was pro-life, cradle to grave, even on the capital punishment side. So I don't
But
know how they.
Well, the Catholic Church does recognize that the government has to defend its citizens, and if you're in a culture where the prison system has a high escape rate,
Right.
then the Catholic Church does recognize that capital punishment is a regretful but preferable alternative than to letting this monster escape and cause harm. And again, within our lifetimes, it's gotten to the point where escapism is virtually non-existent anymore.
But also, what I've always heard, I can verify that it could be cheaper to leave them in jail than to go through the appeals process.
I've heard that too.
Far more money on the appeals process than just leaving someone locked up.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard that before too.
And where I initially saw was in Georgia, where I guess a defendant or whatever, in a courtroom grabbed a weapon from a deputy and shot and killed one person. I don't know what exactly it was. And then the public defender's office was talking about it was going to cost them $5 million to prosecute this guy. I'm like, it's on videotape. It was in a courtroom. I mean, what more, where's the $5 million?
There need to be some adjustment on
Yes.
this.
Where's the common sense?
Yeah, where's the problem? Yes,
I have a Catholic Church alert.
okay.
Cardinal Dolan in New York City has been wondrous in terms of sanity and the Catholic Church in general. He's retiring.
Yes.
And the
Have they picked somebody to replace him? Okay.
Bishop Hicks,
Okay.
Joliet, Illinois, and I watched the press conference, and he gave a statement with all the DEI keywords and looking out for, and he spent 5 years in El Salvador. And I'm sitting there going, oh no. Because
That'll be unfortunate.
and if he doesn't, and the man is incredibly earnest and all these other kind of things and well-meaning, but a lot of the well-meaning in the clergy, I'm not go off in these strange directions. And having fought a church battle, but this is not good news for the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Dolan should be ready for sainthood. I mean, just
In all fairness, it's a Christian problem. It's just that the Catholics are more organized, more unified. But it is these are Christian problems. Yeah,
Dolan has been very visible in the media.
55% of Christianity is Catholic. So what Catholics say makes the difference. But it's
He's also
even
got,
outside the Catholic Church, it's the same problems.
he has
going
the
on all
bully
other
pulpit.
churches. Yes.
He has a great bully pulpit.
He's definitely going to be. He's definitely going to be.
There you going. What else you got?
Almost done. Let's see. Spartanburg just started up their own pro-life committee. They've had one meeting, and I've reached out to network with them, so that'll be good news. I'm excited that Pickens.
Spartanburg just copies us constantly.
That's a good thing, at least from my point of view.
They're good people.
And I'm excited that Pickens is organized now. I'm looking to reach out to them now that they're reorganized. Never should have happened, but we finally got where we needed to be. Other than that, next 3 months I'll be giving talks on socialism. The 5th will be my talk on what socialism is and how to recognize it. In February, I'm going to talk about how it's infiltrated the church. And in March, I'll finish up with some proactive work. I'm going to talk about techniques and ways that you can use to actually talk to socialists, both in public and in private.
Fantastic. You got an update? You got an update?
No.
No? Nothing?
I'll step up.
All right, good.
You gotta come from behind the tree.
I should,
No.
We got the mic. People can't hear you.
Can you make the tree bigger?
The mic is right here for you, brother.
Hand me the mic along.
It doesn't stretch that far.
I want to prove that I was here. Okay, I just want legislative committee update. I'm going to issue minutes from last meeting, and Ron did a good job on updating. Found in. Just a couple of notes. Megan has stepped up. Number one is kudos to Jeff, Scott, and Austin on their minutes thing. And the other thing they did also on the judicial research tool. Megan here has stepped up to take over tort reform. And we had a nice training on how to go through that. It's an awesome tool how to look at legislation. It's really cool. And then he also recorded, got great meeting minutes. And I wanted to talk about, you talked about the Hobart and stuff like that. What we learned after going back to minutes, I didn't even remember this. On the county, the jail and illegals being housed, Hobart doesn't control the jail.
Correct.
The county administrator does.
And who is that?
Huh?
Joe Cornell? Okay. Interesting.
So any of this release and working with ICE
I woke up. You Mr. Joker now? Well, yes.
Yeah, so any of this is, I mean, we can point fingers at Hobart, or else he's using the smoke screen to say, I can't do anything about this because it ain't, not my yacht man. So we have to go through the county administrator to get any, like, if you want to find out about your stuff, about who's there, what they charged with. So, I mean, if someone wants to take that action item and contact him.
I'll do it.
Okay,
Oh.
right, got you down.
Yeah.
So that was, that's about it. And then just there's going to be a meeting, like I said earlier, January 8th with Sue, and I'll send out meeting minutes. Covered our last meeting, and we're just going to go from there. I have contacted Doge. They got back with me, and they have filed the bill. I'm working on judicial reform, so there's
SC
some.
Doge.
Huh?
SC Doge.
Yes.
Doge.
yes.
I like Doge better.
As opposed to Fiddle.
Right. It's Doge SC.
Those are the Ron Reddy and
and
those
it's-
guys.
In my term, it's Doge SC. So
California folks.
I'm glad you're having fun.
that's French. You're French Canadian, right?
Yeah,
Oui.
we've been here.
So you know Doge, right? That's dog, right?
Doge.
So I contacted. We have 3 or 4 bills on judicial reform that are in subcommittee. I contacted, quote, the primary sponsors on that. Got nothing back. I did point out to Josiah that he's on another chat I'm with. I said, hey, you guys are all there. Was a big uproar, a brouhaha about judicial reform, and everybody was pontificating about all this. And I said, hey, Josiah, you got a bill here. I sent you an email. How come you haven't responded? And he actually fessed up and said, yeah, I found your email. But he still hasn't responded to the email, which is
But Doge SC did respond.
Doge
Right
SC,
away.
like within 24 hours. I said, hey, we like what you posted on your website and everything. This is something we can get behind. And they said, oh, that's great. They want to come back. They have pre-filed a bill in the Senate, actually.
Yes.
So we're going to do that, and they're going to hopefully they're going to contact me. They're talking about having an event in January, potentially. Probably
Here in Greenville.
in Greenville in Doge SC. So I don't know if it's specifically for judicial reform, but I did query them on a couple of our other topics, our other 7 points that we're trying to follow, and they did not respond to that, but they're very excited about judicial reform. So they might be there, and stay tuned for further announcements. Okay,
We're figuring out how the system works.
right.
I'll scratch my back, scratch your back, scratch my back, that type of stuff. We've got our 7 big initiatives.
Right.
We'll add on some other ones, and and then this one with judicial reform. You got to look at which one's probably going to move. If I'm the lead sponsor, if I'm Josiah Magnuson and I'm sponsoring bill on judicial reform, and I'm not responding to people who want to help,
That's where my
just file the bill just to.
that's where my cynicism comes in, because I said, hey, I'm here. I've got a group of people that are willing to work with you, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your email.
So
Well-
I mean, if the primary sponsor is not that interested in actually pushing their bill,
But he talks a good game about it
Right.
in his chat.
Right. Right. So, I mean, that's where this cynicism comes from and my experience comes from, because that's what they do. They file stuff that they don't really,
But like-
they just want to tell certain people they did it.
But Doge is they really want to move it, and they're behind Pasco too, who is also an advocate of the same topic. So,
Yes. And Joe White
yeah.
out of Newberry's, pushing it too. So, I mean, it's got the possibility of moving, because you got people that want it to move, right? And those guys are going to put some money behind it, and they're sending out the text and all that kind of stuff. So you see that they're either going to learn a hard lesson or accomplish it, one of the two, So, but the fact that they're willing to be that active, that is probably going to be the bill that moves.
And their other big claim is Merle Smith 100% behind him on this effort. Even, and well, of course he is, because he resides in the Senate.
Right. But the House is probably going to be the easier route. And the Doge guys confirmed that the Senate will be the difficult side. Senate's not up for election next year, right? So what do they got to lose? By the time 2 more years come around,
We all forgot.
we will all forgot.
Well, some of us.
Some of us, not really, but yeah.
Well, speaking of that, Ray commented earlier, Ray Calabro, he did say that he registered a regular appointment with Senator Corbin abstaining from S3 to 3.
And I was going to ask Ray if he can write a comment. Did Corbin respond? And because Corbin was one of the people on the subcommittee that abstained from voting on S323. So if Ray could comment on what he may have said, that would be appreciated. Or he even responded. Who knows? So
I'm not aware of anything from Corbin directly. That'll be a good question for me to
ask him about the Christmas party.
At the Christmas party.
You will soon learn why I'm not invited to Christmas parties anymore.
I think I made a mistake.
This is your 1 year to do these answers because it won't happen next year. I'm kind of kidding.
No, we're not.
I think Ms. Cash is going to be at the event, not Corbin. If I said Corbin earlier.
Oh, I think he's a
Remember
Corbin.
the Christmas party we went to last year, we were invited, and then suddenly, like, the 2 top legislators from Greenville showed up there, and they were shocked we were there.
I think we were actually invited just for the entertainment value.
Yeah. Well, we should.
No, we didn't. That's okay.
Where is this party you're talking about?
Oh, this was
the one
for a
that
big political consultant. I mean,
in his house.
yeah,
In Greenville?
a pollster
And it was actually
in Seneca.
in Seneca, and we
And it
were
was, no, it was in that area, but it was Anderson County. It
enjoying
wasn't.
the party in his basement, whatever, and like the 2 top legislators from Greenville walking with their wives, and they didn't expect us. It was funny.
So what's happening with school choice? Why'd you kill our bill in your committee?
We were nice, but I think they were older toes.
Yeah, it's it's
It's funny.
it's funny and it's a mess. And we need to push more on the school choice stuff. I mean, literally kids have lost between an honest estimate, $500-700 million since we've been in this fight. And it's all petty. And it's not just what the kids have lost, it's what taxpayers have lost, because almost an equal amount is tax savings to the taxpayers. I'm like, you're talking serious money. I mean, you miss 1 year, it's $50 million. You miss 10 years, it's $500,000. And it's $500 million. Yes. I mean, it's really sad. And that's where I call it the litmus test, is where do you stand on that issue? And a lot of them are new and they're like, oh, I don't want to know. I don't know anything about it and yada, yada. And I'm like, it's your duty to understand it, because it's hurting children and it's hurting taxpayers. And I will say that we did have there was a state EC meeting on Tuesday in Columbia. That's when Pickens was let back in or certified their convention results. No issues or concerns there, even though there had been some threats. Silly stuff. There was a motion put up at the end of the meeting to allow me back in the meetings and to get on the email list.
Oh my God.
Because Drew wanted to put me on the email list for the state executive committee. And of course the emails that they sent out, had at the top say, do not forward or post on social media. So then people get nervous about, if I even forward it to you. Well, not some people do send it, but our state EC is a little nervous to send it to me now, apparently. And, I didn't forward it. I printed it out and handed it to him. Where there's a will, there's a way.
I dropped it when I was over visiting. So.
Right. But it got shot down. But it got shot down by folks that weren't even there 4 years ago, 4.5 years.
So
4
they
years
won't
ago.
they didn't approve you?
No, but we have talked amongst ourselves with some other folks. We're going to make like the push that they did with Pickens. we're going to make a similar push with this issue. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a bizarre situation. It's zero due process. There's ways you handle things. If I was truly in there telling lies and throwing tables and all that kind of stuff, that's a problem, right? I mean, we would all agree. But when you get ambushed and say, oh, well, the last meeting you said Chad Conley was under SLED investigation for embezzlement, and they get up there and say that I'm up there lying when 2 days later SLED, confirms that there was a SLED investigation, a preliminary investigation, as they wanted to call it. It's how do you kick somebody out for saying that? And what's interesting is over the years that motion has evolved into oh, well, it's a permanent ban. Oh, it's a this thing. Oh, you can't even get the email. Oh, you can't. It's like now because chairman used to have ability to send a proxy. So the state EC is the person who votes. So of course the state EC can send a proxy. Chairman cannot send a proxy down because they don't want me sending a proxy. So we can only have one person in the room.
So all chairmen are suffering the same fate.
Yes. One of our friends.
Well, it may not be enforced with these other.
Well, that's true too. With other counties, and they may or may not enforce it. So.
Because you're not there to focus.
Right.
Someone says it was terrible to you.
Sure. Perhaps. But whatever. It's pitiful and it's sad.
Regardless.
True.
Yes. He's afraid of losing his powers.
The other thing is that one of our friends that kind of comes from that other side thinks is hilarious is the fact that whenever you pass something in a 2-year term, it ends at the end of that 2-year term. Well, now Drew has upended that entire thing and says now, these are permanent, and it's an ongoing committee. The state executive committee is ongoing, so that was an ongoing ban. So I mean, they have literally bastardized everything they've ever said or stood for.
They're twisting the rules.
Right.
What year was it?
It was December of 21. So
Okay.
yeah. So I'd gone to the September meeting, which is where I made the comment that, hey, I just wanted everybody to know, and maybe we should discuss. One of our members here is under SLED investigation. And actually, it was a legislator that was a state EC at the time, immediately motioned to adjourn the meeting because they want to talk about it. And then the next meeting I show up and it's like, there's a PowerPoint presentation and Chad Conley gets 20 minutes to run through a PowerPoint presentation about how horrible a human being I was. And then Olga's outside because at that point they used to allow guests to come to the state executive committee. They had prevented guests from coming. So Olga was sitting outside and I get the text. She's like, now there's always one security guy there. It's like, God, generally. It's like, 2 more police officers just showed up. So you knew something was happening because, it's like 3 cops have to come in there to make sure I get walked out.
Columbia?
This was in Columbia, yes. That was in December of 21. So it's why would you have all this extra security? Why did Nate Lloyd and those guys, from the old days, they would have cops, work in our meetings. We never hired security. Why do we need security? They would, it's an intimidation factor. And also to say, these people are violent, so we need to have,
They're scared.
armed security there. Yeah.
You're mean.
No, just ask us a question.
He shaved his horns off this morning.
That's right. I file them down. I do everything I can.
They're holding on to power. They
Jeez.
don't want to give it up. And
Pitiful.
any slight indication that they may be losing power, they panic. And they want to clamp everything down.
As I said, my litmus test is the school choice thing. When are we going to fix it?
Right.
And those guys are literally refusing out of just, petty nastiness they're willing to stick it to kids. And I'm like, they don't want to hear it. And there's so many new people in the state executive committee that weren't there in the day. Why would they vote for something without hearing?
They're sheep.
They're sheep. But we're going to give them an opportunity. Maybe we'll put it on that whiteboard over there. We're going to list all 43 counties and where they stand and all that kind of stuff. And I think some people, hey, this is the next thing. We work through the Pickens thing. Maybe we need to work through and either build a coalition or identify people that, quite frankly, need to be removed. If you're unwilling to sit here and say, hey, Why did we kick this guy out? It's not for me personally. I really don't want to drive to Columbia and deal with those things.
I think
I
we need
really,
to,
really don't.
I
But
think we need to do both at the same time. Identify those to be removed and bring the subject up as well.
because
It'll help you identify the people.
well, that's part of it, yes. And reorg is not until March of 27. We got a whole year. Now is the time to start talking about those types of things and forcing the issue. I mean, we don't have data. I don't have access, to the data, the voter data that every other chairman would have in the state. Why? We want to flip the city of Greenville. Why will Drew McKissick not allow us to have the data to sit there, that they give to every other chair, to be able to go after them?
One of them.
Oh, yeah. Well, he doesn't want us to get credit, number one.
County party to get credit.
Right. And I don't think he really wants us to win. I don't think he wants us to flip Greenville, city of Greenville. I mean, but there's something wrong with that, and we need to point it out and let people know and understand it. It's not just Jeff really doesn't care about going down there, but it's just like why? Ask the question why. So I think it'll be fun. It'll be a good exercise, and it's way past due. I mean, it's been 4 years, for God's sakes, and it's hurting. The cause. What's the cause? What's the mission?
Some of this stuff's been going on for 20, 30 years in this county.
Yes, that's true.
Going back to my first time involved.
Yes. Which is, and I had somebody the other day sit there and tell me that their father had wanted to get, similar to your kind of story, their father had wanted to get involved in the Republican Party. He's now passed, but had wanted to get involved, came and got shunned, and would probably have been a very good worker. Oh, locally, we got a seat for you right here. For an update. You got 10 minutes.
Well, I did where I was just.
I was about to ask Ray, where is Karen? What's she been doing? What's her update? Somebody said the other day that you were in Africa.
Yes.
Well, tell us what you've been doing. Introduce yourself.
I think right.
I was actually at the Rhino camp in Uganda, which is the name of a refugee camp there.
Oh, really?
I didn't find out why they named it that, but thankfully no rhinos
No.
there.
Real right.
Well, welcome.
Thank
You
you.
look great.
Thank you. It was a good trip.
Good.
Hey. So I actually wrote a list if you want to hear.
Sure.
Okay.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Carrie Gifford. And
She was the chair of our pro-life committee before.
right, who's doing an awesome job. I'm so thankful. But last year I was feeling like I was supposed to go to Africa this year, and then it wasn't happening, and then all of a sudden God did it. So I just wanted to share a few things relating to politics. So I was in Spain. I met my half brother, and then I was in Ethiopia, Uganda, and Mozambique. Spain and Mozambique, the first country and the last country, felt very communist to me, and it was bad.
Wow.
And the biggest feeling that goes along with that was emptiness, like emptiness of God. I didn't feel God there the way I feel him here, even though we're going in a bad direction. And Uganda and Ethiopia, I felt God there too. But all the other things that go along with communism, I was in the Soviet Union in 1990. And probably the worst night of my life was on a train ride in the Soviet Union, was that same feeling of just devoid of God. But a lot of other things that go along with communism, like Mozambique got their independence supposedly in 1975 from Portugal, but it was really a communist takeover. And I hadn't realized that. I'd been to Mozambique twice before, but I was in the north of the country with a lot of Westerners, and I just didn't feel the country. But this time I was in the capital just with one person, and I could feel things more. And for example, her apartment is on Vladimir Lenin Boulevard. There's a lot of other streets named that. And I kind of asked her that at the first and second dinner we had, and she didn't realize. She said, well, I've prayed against death on my street, but I didn't realize it had anything to do with Lenin. And I was telling her who Lenin is. And she's like, really? Wow. They don't even know, and then we got in a car accident on Mao Zedong Boulevard. It's just, you feel the darkness there. And like a lack of identity, a lack of culture, less smiles. I just felt the darkness in Spain. all the piled up apartments and less freedom, life, color, variety, innovation, creativity, work ethic, order, direction, spirit of laziness, depression, complaining, criticism, infighting, discouragement. We have some of that here. Obviously, it's infiltrating here as well, but I felt it more there. So that was one thing. But a bright spot.
Well, and let me make one comment to that. In Poland, when you walk the streets, I'll walk the street, they don't say hello. And I think it's a reflection of the old, unless they know you. As a newcomer, somebody, they don't sit there and wave or say hello. Like we will pass somebody on the street, maybe strangers.
Like not even strangers.
You're
You
secret
have to have
police.
a personal relationship with someone to say hello. You don't, if you pass a pedestrian, even in the part of town where I live, you may know them, you know where they live. Unless you ever like met them, we don't say hello.
I think it could probably evolve. This is just my theory. Evolves from the communist days, where I'd be scared to say something to somebody because maybe you don't like the way I looked at you, and then you go turn me in, or boy, that guy sat there and looked at me funny, by saying hello. And it's safer for me just to keep my head down and just walk.
So
There's the darkness. That's what I think.
so guess
the darkness is.
when Jeff visits, what he does to my neighbors.
Oh, I waved to everybody. Grandma be in the window. Hey, how are you? And they're like, who the heck is this guy?
Secret police trying to draw people in. Yeah.
It's like an inside setup.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to observe. It's like 50-50, not 50-50. Some people like run from the crazy, and some people actually like, oh, you're smiling at me, and they smile back.
And I look at it as a way to plant the seed that could get people to maybe think about saying hello to other folks. I don't know if it makes any difference. But
A little friendliness.
I agree.
Yeah.
So a bright spot in Mozambique was sunshine nuts, which I can pass around if y'all want to open it and have some. But this is our Hershey's chocolate executive and his wife, maybe over 10 years ago, moved to Mozambique, which is the second worst country in the world to do business and the second worst country for expat living. And they have started a home for children to help needy children. And they're helping farmers grow the nuts in Mozambique, and they're having employees. So while they could automate their production line and use robots, they're using employees to do a lot of the work. So they're really helping Mozambique. You can buy these here. You can buy them on Amazon. They're at Whole Foods and some different stores. So they're really good. They're really high quality nuts, very fresh. They don't sit in a warehouse forever. And let's see. And then U.S. aid. Before I went to Africa, I'd had friends in Africa telling me, they're feeling the lack of U.S. aid, but they're not complaining. I didn't have any anti-Trump rhetoric while I was there. I didn't hear that from the people I was with. I think they kind of know that they shouldn't have been getting that money all along. And one good thing was part of my trip was pro-life in Uganda, and so the pro-life minister who has a pro-life organization was, trying to show me some of the abortion clinics like Marie Stopes is in Africa, which is the European version of Planned Parenthood is Mary Stopes. And we were I think I saw one abortion clinic that wasn't Mary Stopes, and maybe I did see a sign for Mary Stopes somewhere else, but the one he wanted to show me, we were driving past and it wasn't there. So it seems like maybe pulling the USAID money caused it to shut down. That's what he was thinking. So. Wow. That would be good if that's the case. I brought them U.S. constitutions and U.S. flags. I don't know, because, we have our 250-year anniversary next year. They didn't really say anything, but hopefully maybe that's useful to them. The son of one of them wants to become a lawyer, so hopefully he'll read it. And then one night in Uganda, there's so much traffic in Kampala, which is the capital of Uganda. We were hours and hours to get home, but we thankfully ended up behind a judge. And so the judge had all the police. He was a high court judge. And so we rushed. We were able to go faster because we were right behind him, which was kind of cool. But then when we got home, Trump was on the TV with the World Cup thing they had. And that was just really fun, watching that with them. I don't know. That was just fun because I didn't get to hear a lot of news. I mean, I saw something about, Marjorie Taylor Greene dropping out and all that, but I was very blissfully ignorant of because it's very nice to not have to deal with all the horrible stuff going on.
Carrie?
Yes.
Can I ask you a quick question? Some years ago, our daughter was on a medical mission to Uganda, And she said back then they had people walking 2 days just to come to their orthopedic clinic. Is it still that way, or have things gotten worse or better?
I don't know. I mean,
This was in the outskirts.
yeah, I was in the north of Uganda, which is like the country. I was partly in the refugee camp. The roads are, not good. I mean, they're African roads. They're very bumpy. So it's possible. It's possible that that's happening. Yeah. Yeah, it's possible. But I will say the South Sudanese refugees, Uganda takes a ton of refugees. I think it's kind of a poorer country because of that, but they don't complain. Somebody was talking about the illegal immigration. I was watching online, which I'm totally against illegal immigration. But Uganda lets them in. Like, I think that's great. If they want to let them in, that's great. And so they have all these refugee camps. They have hundreds of thousands of refugees. And so this Rhino camp has been there for over 10 years. They've developed a whole economy. They're hardworking people. They built themselves little houses there. I didn't see much evidence of the United Nations. It was mostly Christian ministries driving around, but they plant things. They got animals running around everywhere. And I got to attend a kindergarten graduation. They were so excited, all these South Sudanese people, about all their 79 kindergartners graduating. It was a 6-hour graduation. It was such a big celebration. But in the beginning, they had a marching band. The older kids in the school did this whole marching band thing, and they sang the Uganda national anthem. They said whatever the Uganda, all they did, they had the flag, the Uganda flag. They were honoring their host country. They were honoring their country of refuge. And I mean, that makes me cry, because Uganda said you can come, and they're honoring their country. That made me so happy. That was such a, so nice to be somewhere. It just makes me feel good to get away from all the insanity here. But I didn't see everything there, but I enjoyed that. And let's see. I think that was everything. Yes, that was everything I wanted to share. So thank you for letting me share.
Oh, it's fantastic. And how long were you there?
The whole trip was 40 days, including meeting my half brother for 2 days, and traveling and all that. So yeah.
It's interesting you say Spain, Phil.
Yeah, well, I want to.
Communist.
Where is
I was in Malaga on the coast. Well, I flew into Madrid, the worst airport in the world. The Madrid airport is terrible, but Malaga is on the coast, so we could see Morocco.
So,
Huh?
yeah, so just Malaga, that was the.
That's where he lives.
Okay.
Interesting.
That's.
Considering the output of Catholicism from Spain originally to now to feel kind of godless.
I walked the Camino. I walked the Camino.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
And so I totally different.
You had a good experience.
It was outstanding, but I also know what Malaga is too.
Well, yeah.
It's like on
It's kind of a wealthy place on the coast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So are you back for good or what?
For now, I'm
For now?
back for a while. I don't know the future. I like Africa a lot, but I don't know that I'll move there. It's possible, but I don't know.
Okay. Well, we're glad to have you back. What else?
I know too.
We're done.
It,
We good? Anybody got anything else?
check out next Friday.
Next Friday we'll be here, day after Christmas. So maybe other people have the day off. You're more than welcome.
Encourage,
You can give us an update on the Fusion Center.
Yes.
but I
and
think we
one other
try to
thing.
do it maybe
County administrator.
a little,
Yeah, yeah.
can we do it more social so people can actually
More social.
mingle for Christmas?
Dancing on the table.
Yeah.
Your first.
Never said no. What?
Right.
What do
So
you,
if
what do you
you
mean more
have-
social?
I don't know.
Like wine and cheese social?
Wine and cheese. If you have leftover cookies for Christmas, bring
Oh,
them.
that's now we're down to
If you
cookies.
drink wine, I do. You're welcome to. So maybe we will stream for an hour discussion and then we'll have people. We did it at Christmas last time at Danish and I just remember people being excited to get to know each other.
Okay.
So that's why I'm thinking about it.
All right. Well, we're out. Thank you for coming, stopping by, giving your update.
I just saw a Chiron on TV that Trump has ended the green card lottery system. By mentioning-
Oh, he's ended it? Really? Okay.
They're listening.
Huh, they did. I mean, it is an interest. I mean, we all believe in the legal immigration and all that, but I mean, it's it's supply and demand, and the legals are costing us. So, all right, we will be back next week. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
I
y'all
think
for coming.
Dolan was